Imagine living your entire life according to rules nobody actually asked you to follow. Not laws, not moral principles, just invisible expectations. Be more successful. Be more attractive. Be more agreeable. Be more like everyone else. Now, here's the uncomfortable question. What if most of your stress isn't coming from your problems? What if it's coming from constantly managing other people's opinions? Many people spend years chasing approval without realizing it. They think they're pursuing happiness, success, or love, but underneath it all is a hidden addiction, an addiction to validation. And like every addiction, it gives temporary relief while quietly taking away your freedom. Today, we're going to uncover the psychology behind approval addiction, why your brain craves it, and how it may be controlling your life without you even noticing. Let's start with something important. Seeking approval is not weakness, it's biology. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by your tribe could mean death. Humans survived because they belonged to groups. Our brains evolved to treat social acceptance as a survival need. This is why compliments feel good. This is why criticism hurts. And this is why being ignored can feel strangely painful. Inside your brain, social approval triggers the release of dopamine. Dopamine is often called the reward chemical. Every like, every compliment, every moment of recognition. Your brain records it as something valuable. The problem begins when approval stops being a preference and becomes a requirement. When your self-worth depends on external validation, you hand over control of your emotional state to other people. And now, your happiness becomes fragile, because it depends on something you can never fully control. What would happen if nobody applauded your next achievement? Would you still do it? Pause for a second and think about that, because your answer reveals more than you think. Now let's go deeper. When approval becomes your primary goal, something dangerous happens. You slowly stop becoming yourself. Instead, you become a carefully edited version of yourself, a version designed to receive applause. Psychologists call this self-monitoring. You constantly scan your environment looking for social feedback. You ask yourself questions like, what should I say? What will they think? Will this make me look bad? How can I avoid criticism? At first, this seems harmless, but over time, it becomes exhausting. Because every conversation turns into a performance. Every decision becomes a calculation. Every action becomes an attempt to avoid rejection. And eventually, something strange happens. You start losing touch with who you really are. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance happens when your actions don't match your beliefs, when the person you show the world becomes different from the person you actually are. The larger that gap becomes, the heavier life feels. This is why some people can be popular and still feel lonely, successful and still feel empty, admired and still feel insecure, because they're receiving approval for a character they've created, not for who they truly are. And deep down, they know it. Have you ever agreed with someone even though you knew they were wrong? Not because they convinced you, but because you didn't want them to dislike you. Most people have. And that small moment reveals a powerful truth. Approval addiction doesn't just influence your choices, it quietly rewrites your identity. Now here's the cruelest part. Approval addiction can never satisfy you, because the human brain adapts. Fast, this phenomenon is called the hedonic treadmill. The praise that felt incredible yesterday becomes normal today. The recognition you desperately wanted becomes expected. The attention that once excited you starts feeling ordinary. And suddenly, you need more. More validation, more likes, more compliments, more reassurance, more proof that you're enough. But no matter how much you receive, the feeling never lasts. Imagine trying to quench your thirst with salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. That's exactly how approval addiction works. The more you depend on external validation, the more dependent you become. And there's another problem. The crowd keeps changing its standards. One day, they want confidence. The next day, they call it arrogance. One day, they reward authenticity. The next day, they criticize it. One day, they praise your success. The next day, they resent it. If your identity depends on public approval, you'll spend your life chasing moving targets. And eventually, you'll realize something terrifying. You built your life around pleasing people who were never fully satisfied to begin with. Think about that. How do you win a race when the finish line keeps moving? You can't. That's the trap. This is where Stoic philosophy offers a powerful solution. The Stoics taught that life becomes simpler when you separate what you can control from what you cannot. Your actions, you control those. Your effort, you control that. Your character, you control that too. But other people's opinions, you don't, no matter how hard you try. Yet most people spend their lives focusing on the one thing they cannot control, and then wonder why they feel anxious, powerless, and exhausted. Freedom begins when you stop asking, "Do they approve of me?" and start asking, "Do I approve of myself?" That single shift changes everything, because self-respect is stable. External approval is not. Self-respect stays with you even when nobody is watching. External approval disappears the moment the crowd loses interest. Here's a simple challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, stop seeking validation. Don't fish for compliments. Don't explain your choices unnecessarily. Don't constantly check who reacted to your posts. Don't change your opinion just to fit in. Instead, observe yourself. Notice how often your brain seeks approval. Notice how frequently you adjust your behavior based on what others might think. Most people are shocked when they realize how much of their day is driven by validation seeking. But awareness is powerful, because you cannot break a pattern you cannot see. The moment you become aware of approval addiction, you begin weakening its grip. And that's where real freedom starts. At the end of your life, nobody will hand you a trophy for meeting everyone's expectations. The people you're trying so hard to impress are busy worrying about their own lives. Their approval is temporary, their opinions change, their attention fades. But the person you become while chasing approval stays with you forever. Real confidence isn't believing everyone likes you. Real confidence is knowing you'll be okay even if they don't. The moment you stop living for applause is the moment you begin living for yourself. And that may be the closest thing to genuine happiness that most people will ever find. Remember, average people follow the crowd, but free people choose their own path. The question is, which one are you becoming?